G'day, I'm Andrew Marshall with the Northern Australia Climate Program at the University of Southern Queensland, and back here this month with a short summary of the Bureau of Meteorology's climate outlook for Queensland for the weeks and months ahead, issued in the few days leading up to the 21st of November 2025. So we'll take a look at the rainfall outlooks to begin with, starting with these outlook scenarios. These are the rainfall totals that have a 75% chance of occurring for your region. And looking ahead to the 3 months from December to February here, we're seeing a 75% chance of around 50 millimetres or more for large parts of southwestern Queensland, and around 100 to 200 millimetres for central regions, increasing to around 300 to 400 millimetres for pockets of the far east, and more than 600 millimetres in parts of the far north. And we can use this magnifying glass feature right here to drill deeper into the forecast and specify your location of interest to break the forecast down into the chance of different rainfall amounts occurring. And this gives you an idea of how conditions are likely to be compared to the historical median. As always, your local climate mate will of course be happy to go through this with you in more detail. Now, taking a quick look at the Bureau's northern rainfall totals since the 1st of September, and the green areas here indicate where more than 50 millimetres of rain has fallen, and this is about the amount of rainfall required to stimulate plant growth. Now let's look at the temperatures, and the differences from average for maximum temperature show warmer conditions across most of Queensland, particularly towards the southeast, and slightly cooler conditions in the far north for the 2 weeks from the 25th of November to the 8th of December. And here the average is calculated over the 1981 to 2018 period for this time of year. And for minimum temperature, we're expecting warmer than average conditions, mostly in eastern and northern parts of the state, with some cooler conditions expected elsewhere over the next 2 weeks. Now, looking at the chance of extremes map for the 3 months from December to February, we're seeing an elevated chance of unusually warm days across almost all of Queensland and unusually warm nights across the state. And by unusually warm, we mean the highest 20% of historical temperature records for this time of year, based on the 1981 to 2018 period. Now, of course, remember that these long-range forecasts for rainfall and temperature do provide the best guidance for local climate, so that is our focus. And these forecasts consider all ocean and atmosphere conditions that affect seasonal weather and climate. But if you are interested in some of the climate indicators that can influence the forecast, we'll have a quick look at these now. And the El Niño Southern Oscillation remains neutral, but there are signs La Niña may be developing. The ocean and atmosphere have been showing signs of this possible La Niña development since September, so we'll keep a close eye on this in the coming weeks. The Indian Ocean Dipole, or the IOD, remains in a negative phase, and the Bureau's model predicts that the negative IOD will weaken during November with a return to neutral in December. And this is consistent with most international models assessed and with the typical life cycle of the IOD. Now, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, or the MJO, is in the Eastern Pacific region currently, where it remains active as it continues eastward with moderate strength in phase 8 and likely into phase 1, as you can see. Now, these are the dry phases of the MJO for Australia, so the MJO may be contributing to the outlook for below median rainfall over large parts of the country in December, and the timing of the MJO may also influence the timing for the Australian monsoon onset in the next couple of months, so we'll be keeping a close eye on this as well. The Southern Annular Mode, or the SAM, has dipped into its negative phase recently, and it's worth noting that we saw the stratosphere warm over Antarctica in September and early October, which typically influences a negative SAM through spring and into early summer. And the Bureau's SAM forecast is tending negative in December, although it is within that neutral range. The sea surface temperature outlook here is also likely to be influencing the forecast for Australia, and this has shown warmer than average waters around most of Australia, and it's likely to continue in December through February, particularly to the east of the continent. Now, turning to the pasture growth outlook from long paddock for the 3 months from November to January, and we're expecting to see pasture growth across most northern regions, as is shown here, in response to the expected rainfall in the months ahead. And finally, looking at the Cattle Comfort Index prototype forecast at nacpi.org.au, index values between 30 and 35 degrees represent moderate stress to cattle, values between 35 and 40 degrees represent severe stress, and values above 40 degrees are considered extreme, and we are expecting varying heat stress conditions over northern Australia, with some extreme conditions over broad areas to be aware of in the days ahead. So as always, For more information and updates, visit the Bureau's climate pages at bom.gov.au/climate. If you have any questions about recent conditions or the use of weather and climate forecasts, please reach out to your local climate mate, and you can read more about the Northern Australia Climate Program at nappi.org.au. See you next month.